have a lot of expectations. They may have conflicting ideas of what the ceremony should be like. Some may even have conflicting ideas as to who ought to be in the ceremony. And some even disagree about the choices that have been made for the wedding in the first place. And yet the minister is given the task of bringing all of that together into some concerted, harmonious effort that glorifies and exemplifies God. Weddings can bring people together and they can tear people apart. People fight at weddings. People cry at weddings. Some people curse at weddings. See, emotions get stirred and secrets come out and families start wrestling. It's a difficult. Hollywood understands it. They started coming up with entertainment, bridezilla type events where we watch people go through the whole ceremony and watch a very, very nice young lady turn into Godzilla and screaming and yelling and having tantrums. It's stressful to go to weddings, especially when it's yours. Selah. What is interesting about our text before us, none of the synoptic gospels mentions this text, only the Gospel of St. John. The Gospel of St. John mentions this text in the early writings of John himself as he brings us into a deeper and richer understanding of who Christ is. It is ironic to me that John would be the one that introduces to us the marriage at Cana. It's ironic because John is predisposed to focus on teaching us that Jesus Christ is God. It is John that bypasses the opportunities that Matthew, Mark, and Luke have taken to prove the messianic authority of Jesus Christ by going into his lineage and tracing him back to David and what have you to authenticate and verify the fact that he is the Messiah which the children of Israel had expected. John does not worry himself nor preoccupy himself with proving that Jesus is a descendant from Ruth or that he is an heir to the throne of David. He goes right into the deity of Jesus Christ and says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made by him. Without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life. The life was the light of men. The light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. About the 14th verse, it says, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. We beheld the wonder of his glory, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. He's saying that Jesus is God, that through his godliness that all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made, that in him was life, and that the life was the light of men, and that the light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. He's made it a flat-footed case to authenticate and verify the fact that Jesus is not just a part of a kingly dynasty going back to David. He's more than the seed of Abraham. He's more than the descendant of Ruth. He's more than the great-great-great-great-grandchild of Boaz. He's more than that he is absolutely God incarnate, God manifested in the flesh, God justified in the spirit, God seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles and believed on in the world. That he is, in fact, God, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth, that he is that holy thing, that holy one, that he is that one that shall come to deliver us from our bondage. He's preoccupied with that. And in the first chapter, he proves an irrevocable case to the fact that Jesus is God in the flesh. Powerful declaration of truth. Chapter 1, Jesus is God. Jesus is God. Let the record show. It's God. Without controversy, Paul would later say, great is the mystery of godliness, for God was manifest in the flesh. That's what he said. And without argument, he said, I don't care what you say. God was manifest in the flesh. So chapter 1, we are looking at God wrapped up in a flesh suit. And it is on the tapestry of this theology that he steps into chapter 2. He goes from saying that Jesus is God to chapter 2, Jesus is at a party. A wow party. A party that has gone on for several days. A party that is so wild that even though the wedding planners had planned for a certain amount of consumption, the Bible said when they had run out of wine. Now, this becomes very interesting because the Jesus I see in chapter 1 and the Jesus I see in chapter 2 are two extremes of one God. In chapter 1, he's creating everything by the word of his power. In chapter 2, he's at a wedding. Now, you have to understand, these were not American weddings. American weddings, the good thing about weddings in our country is that they don't last long. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you are hitched. The next 30 or 40 years, have a reception, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, it's over. But a Jewish wedding goes on for days. A Jewish wedding lasts so long that the bridal party has to bring extra oil to be ready. It goes on in the night. It goes on in the day. It lasts for several days. This party has been going on for a while, and they have run out of wine. I got your attention when I was going through that theology. I didn't get you, but when I got to that party and that wine, you woke right up. Isn't that interesting? Salah. Now, Jesus is not just at the wedding. The Bible says he was invited to the wedding. Didn't just come. He was specifically invited, not just as a part of the family. The Bible tells us that his mother was there and that she was invited. And then it spells out the fact that not only was she there and invited, but Jesus was also there and invited to a wedding. Jesus at a wedding. He's gone, chapter 1. Chapter 2, he's at a wedding party. A wedding that has gone on so long and so clamorously that they have run out of wine, and Jesus, you say, I won't bother that. Let me get out of that. Let me get out of that. I don't want to bother you with your thinking about who God is. I won't point out the fact that sometimes church people are more religious than God. I won't do that. I won't do that because it might shatter your theology and bother your mind and disturb your sensibilities to understand you have a God who does not play by the rules. I'll bypass that. I'll ignore that.
Still to come on the Potter's Touch.
You see, God will let you practice in private what he will later do in public. There is no way that his mother would come over in front of all these people and ask him to do something that she did not believe that he could do. She had to have seen him do it before and say, I know you've been doing this thing at the house, but it's time to go public. If he commands me to do it, it must be within my power to accomplish it. Because it wouldn't be just to command me to do something that I cannot do. So that means that love is controllable. I give up everything to follow you. Wouldn't give up a ham sandwich at 11 o'clock at night. Imagine how your personal relationships would change if you loved the people in your life like you love yourself. The reality is we always want to get more than we're willing to give. So this second scripture obliterates selfishness. It's not what we did yesterday that's messing us up. It's that you won't grow with me.
For your best gift this season, receive the Love Letter plus 3 prayer journals. And when your gift is $150 or more, we will add your Resurrection candle holder set with communion kit when you visit our website or call 1-800-BISHOP2.
pointed to Jesus being a relational Jesus who has a conversation with his mother at the wedding, and that they enter and engage into a conversation that proves that this wedding was not on Jesus' divine agenda. It was a natural event that he attended. He did not attend the event with a spiritual agenda. He says to his mother, who comes to him and says, baby, you got to do something. You know they're running out of wine. I might point out that this is not Jesus' problem. It is not his problem. And the second thing I want to point out is that it is not a problem anyway. Most of the people who invoked the power of God were having a problem. The lepers, the 10 lepers, the man who was sick of palsy, Lazarus who had died. These were people in a crisis. Running out of wine doesn't really seem like the kind of crisis that would necessitate divine intervention. Not when you've got blind people and leprous people and people in the middle of funerals calling on Jesus for miracles. Look at Jesus, who is given to such detail that he adopts a crisis that is not a crisis only because you care about it. He cares about it too and involves himself with something that really isn't a crisis at all. I want to talk just a little bit about this wedding. There's something. It wasn't a crisis. Nobody was dying. Nobody had done like they did with Paul falling out the window and broke their neck and had to be resurrected. This was not a crisis. It was a party. A 3-day party. It's enough. Go home. Run out of wine, it's over. And here Jesus' mother brings him a problem that is not a problem and certainly not his problem, and he expresses his frustration. Woman, what am I going to do with you? You have to have had a type A extrovert, expressive mama to understand the exasperation that comes up in your spirit when you think, oh, there she goes again. He says, he doesn't even call her mother. He says, woman, what am I to do with thee? And then he exposes the source of his frustration. He says, woman, my hour has not yet come. This is not on my schedule. This is not on my itinerary. My hour has not yet